Good morning and welcome to your Daily Game Face. I'm Dr. Kim Lannon. I'm here with Lou Blasi and I'm freezing again.
And see, I don't know.
And Lou said that I was emotionally aggressive.
Yeah, emotionally aggressive.
To his sensitive self this morning.
Yes. Well, I'll just let you know that the banter is toned down during the show. Our banter is a little bit more.
Our banter is?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, you come in loaded for bear.
Do you want to be toned down or you want to banter up?
I don't care. Either way.
Are you feeling sensitive today?
I may be. I
you
wasn't.
So you're saying that I'm triggering you?
Maybe. Maybe just a little.
Well, we don't have to. We can banter all day. What do you want to banter about?
No, what I mean is we banter on the show and it's fun, but it's a little toned down from what we do personally.
Oh, yeah, the show is
we throttle a little
our
bit.
Off-air banter is not the same because it's inappropriate on air.
That's true.
That's why. If we did what we did outside of this on air, we actually probably get lots of followers.
But I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know. I don't have the temperature thing. I don't know. Maybe it's me.
I don't know.
It hadn't occurred to me that it was cool in here until you brought it up.
Okay, now you hurt my feelings.
No, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings.
I don't understand how you have so sensitive self this morning. I said hello to you. I said, honey, I'm home. I looked at your protein bar, approved of it. I gave you a card to give to someone else.
That was approval?
You couldn't manage the job.
Yeah, that was approval? What am I, the Postal Service?
I mean, like, how was I emotionally aggressive? Oh, words don't come to mind. That's because you just made it up.
No, because I'm trying to keep the throttle down.
Are you just in a bad space?
No, I'm not at all.
Are you in a good space?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Are we going to have therapy after?
No, I'm good.
Oh, God. Do you not love me anymore?
Of course I do.
You don't bring me flowers. You don't sing me love songs.
I just don't get the temperature thing.
I'm
the temperature thing is constant with me, and it's not just you. So I'm starting to think that it's my
bias from someone else that they verified that I actually have the valid reason to say I'm cold.
Well, okay, I don't. That really didn't connect because several different situations, but I'm not.
Was that a shot?
No.
Oh my God!
So explain myself further. Apparently, I have I'm temperature tolerant. Apparently, I don't know.
I don't know. You're making my eye twitch.
Okay, that's high blood pressure. I know all about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, good morning.
Yes. Good
morning.
Are
you okay? Can we reset?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay. No bantering.
No, bantering is fine.
I know. Okay. So, guess what?
What?
Tomorrow will be 2 weeks away from Stuff Your Face and Unbuckle Your Pants Day. And lay on the couch.
Yeah.
So I thought we should talk about that, considering our whole time talking is always about being healthy and well. And then people decide, well, I would say one day a year, but it's never just one day a year. But this happens to be the one day of the year that people make all justifications to eat as much as you can possibly shove in your mouth.
Yeah.
Of all the bad things you could possibly eat and be like, but it's Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then the next day, I get lots of calls, which I won't be around this year, thank God. But I always get lots of calls about I don't feel good.
Food coma? Yeah.
You what?
Food coma?
Yes, food coma. But emotionally, and it's always related to food. And I always ask, what'd you eat?
Yeah.
And it's all the things that people don't typically eat. They just piled on top of each other and stacked in their bellies. And now.
So are we talking about emotional distress or are we talking about physical response to distress from what they eat?
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
So they go together, right? So the emotional, well, it's kind of like what we were talking about last week is there's a lot of, so the physicality of just the eating and then looking at the spread and just eating everything in sight, add in the emotional stuff going in.
Yep.
Fighting with, whoever you're fighting with of the year in the family, and then putting that all together and then overeating, over drinking, overdoing, over whatever, and the emotional overdoing. And then the next day or for the next 2 weeks, people reel. And then they go into Christmas.
Do you believe, let's get this out of the way first.
Okay.
Do you believe in the concept of it's Thanksgiving, I'm going to eat? in essence, a cheat day. All other things aside, just that particular principle.
So I don't ascribe to the cheat day philosophy because I don't think any day is a cheat day. I think all food choices are food choices.
Yep.
So if you decide that on Thursday that happens to be designated as Thanksgiving that you're going to eat stuffing and potatoes and all the things you never eat, then you're actively making a choice knowingly to do that for whatever reason. And it's not a cheat. It's just you're actively making the choice. And if you own that you're actively making the choice, knowing that you're probably not going to feel good afterwards, and you're upfront about it to your own self, not to me or anybody else, that it's, fine. I think that if you go and committed that I'm going to make it a day to eat and a day to watch football, and that's fine. But knowing that you're going to suffer.
Yeah.
Because you go out of the range of, it's abnormal to go, most people, right, have if we just sat down to have a regular dinner, it'd be turkey with like string beans, normal, and, like a baked potato. Okay. Like for instance.
Right.
But on Thanksgiving, we have an entire 25-pound turkey that we graze on all afternoon with 15 pounds of potatoes, squash, string bean casserole.
Okay.
Just so you know.
I'm taking that off the menu.
Stuffing, carrots, 4 different pies, sweet potato souffle.
Yeah.
Just so you know how I feel about those things. And then a partridge and a pear tree and everything else under the sun. Rolls.
And a bunch of alcohol and dessert.
And alcohol and eggnog, even though it's not Christmas yet. People put all these things in, and gingerbread cookies, and you name it, it's there. And people just graze. Oh, and we forgot appetizers and hors d'oeuvres, which are always high caloric, salted up things that people don't realize that although they taste great and you eat grazing all day and everything's good.
Yeah.
But it takes such a toll on your body, and your body has to start processing it, and it processes it all day. And then emotionally that takes a toll on you, which is, why people get really drained emotionally and physically.
Yep.
Oh, just add a little tryptophan from the turkey. And by the way, I don't like turkey, just so you know. Did you know?
And then you have to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving.
And you have to what?
You have to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving, and that's always distressing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see the top 5 list. I can't remember all 5, but I remembered the top 3 because they were all my least favorites as well. The top 5 list of all the least favorite Thanksgiving foods.
Okay.
The number 1 was my number 1, cranberry sauce. Blech.
Really?
Blech.
Oh, that's good.
Cranberry sauce is so gross. Remember we talked about the gelatinousness of it?
Yeah.
Out of the can. And I know you can make fresh, and I do make it because I know people do like it and love it. But the number 1 in the country that was on the the poll was that.
So you don't like the one that has the shape of the can? And
it's because of the can.
No, the fact that that's very gelatinous.
Sauce in general.
Yeah.
It's like whether it was whole cranberries or whatever. It's cranberry sauce, turkey. I was like, yes.
Turkey was number 2.
Turkey was number 2.
Of least favorite.
Yes. And then stuffing.
Yeah. I don't get stuffing.
You don't get, well, I make really good stuffing. So mine has like a plethora of stuff in it. So it's not just bread.
Yeah.
And it's got lots of veggies in it and lots of different types of meat in it. And so it's not just eating like a breadstick with butter.
Because
Pepperidge Farm.
Almost no one makes stuffing out of good bread.
I do.
Do you? Yeah. See, if you start with a good bread, I'm on board. But most of them just take like Wonder Bread and just go at it.
I'll make you some and bring it in. I'll make it as like a little peace offering for your sensitivity.
Okay.
Well, the trick to anything good in food is butter. When anything's going awry, just add butter.
Yeah, but you okay with butter?
Butter makes everything better.
No, okay, I understand that. So does bourbon, but
well, no, I do not feel that way.
That's another story altogether. Yeah.
But the top 3 were, and then there were, I think it was like sweet potato souffle and something like all the, the things with the marshmallow in it and all that stuff. I don't know. But I was very happy to see that the 3 that I don't like are the top 3.
How can turkey be the second least favorite Thanksgiving food?
I don't know the answer why people answer that way. But I can tell you why turkey's not my favorite. If I make the turkey personally, then I'll eat it typically. Or if I know the person
Mm-hmm.
and I trust their cooking, I'll eat it. By and large, my reason for not liking turkey is usually when I have had it and someone else has, that I outside my circle of trust.
Right. Yeah.
It's dry.
Yeah.
It tastes terrible. And I'm like, what did you do to this?
Okay. Yeah. No, I understand.
And so it has to be very specific. Here comes the word moist.
Moist.
So if Abby's listening, Abby, I'm saying it one more time. It has to be moist.
Moist. Abby has a problem with moist.
Abby hates the word moist.
Yeah.
And I love saying it to her to torture her. Abby, it's moist. And she's like, ah. So anyway, but it has to have that, and it can't have that yucky texture to it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It's tough to cook a whole bird.
And then it just like grosses me out that then people like sit around and just pick on it all day.
Well, that's fair. Turkey's a big part of my diet. So
I love, I'll eat deli turkey.
Yeah.
And I'll eat turkey that's like been pulled from the turkey that's been done well.
Yep.
But I don't give a rat's behind about sitting around and eating a turkey on turkey day.
It's an acquired skill to do a turkey well, and not many people have acquired that skill.
Yeah. So you know what I'm having instead of turkey?
What?
Salmon.
Oh, salmon's good.
I'm just gonna have salmon. They can all have turkey. I'm having salmon. Usually I make prime rib, but since we know that I'm not eating red meat since January 4th. You knew that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, you learned something new.
It's funny, while you were talking about understanding when you go in, I'm going to eat and I'm going to feel bad. That's the way I am with steak. I love steak. I love red meat, but I don't feel good afterwards.
That's okay. So that's why I don't eat. We've digressed all over the place on this, but this is okay. So I haven't I should say I did do a little cheat, as you would call it. I did a taste of something. Someone gave me something and I told them I would eat it because, and it was meatball and it was fantastic. It's the only meat that I knowingly have slipped into my actual mouth since January 4th, because I decided that on January 4th, first of all, it doesn't have water content in it. Red meat does not have any water content in it. So it makes it very hard for your body to break down. And the more I love steak, I love prime rib. And because that's what I'd make for Christmas. And I would rather have a standing prime rib than anything else.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is it doesn't make me feel good. And it's wonderful and it tastes great. And then I suffer with, and I'm not talking like, suffer like in the traditional sense, like people lay around. My body just doesn't like it. And it's not because I'm older. It's always been that way. And I finally identified that red meat just doesn't make me feel good.
You see, I'm a little different. I don't remember having this reaction when I ate red meat without thinking about it. And I love steak and I love red meat. And I used to eat it a lot. And I don't remember having this reaction to it. But now I don't have it often. But when I do, afterwards, it's not that I feel bad. It's just kind of, that didn't sit as well as it could have.
But don't you also feel, so think about your response to it, kind of like, this is like the turkey response too, I think, is that when you eat red meat, anyone listening, notice that after you've eaten it, like within the next 24 hours, your mood shifts.
Yeah.
And so everyone I've told about this, and I've talked to about it since January 4th of this year, I've said, watch your mood shift off of eating red meat. And people have had theories when they've talked to me, like, do you think it's the hormones in the meat? And I'm like, nope, I eat pasture fed, grass fed, blah, blah, blah. No little ones inside a crate, that kind of thing. It has nothing to do with that. It's just.
So what's the mechanics? Why do you go into a bad mood?
So I believe that because there's no water content, right, that your body has to go into, liver, kidney, pancreas, right? So it goes into overdrive, which probably stresses the system out, which probably creates a little bit of cortisol and a little bit of, pull from all systems of your emotional centers to kind of like, because your hypothalamus, I'm getting all technical, but your hypothalamus in your brain is your eating center, what regulates your temperature, all the things about you. And that's your emotional space. You have your three little structures in there. And that directly goes to the signal of like, I don't feel good. So it's chemically working so hard in your body to break down that I think it's probably misfiring the hypothalamus in some way in the emotional center of the brain to go, this doesn't feel good. So you tend not to, like, the next day, you'll still be full. Like think about like when you have that steak and you go like normally to have your little breakfast bar in the morning, you're not hungry for it because, and people say, it's because of the protein. That may be, but I don't get that on eating fish, turkey, chicken, lamb. Lamb's still a red meat, but not in the same way. Pork, because they have water content in them. So the lack of water content makes it a purely I call it a red meat literally because it's like a stop. Like it's a stop meat. There's nothing helping me. However,
I'm
I will
gonna have
eat
a steak
bison.
and experiment.
I will eat bison.
Bison?
Bison's excellent.
Yeah, I haven't had a bison steak. I've had ground bison.
Well, when I was in Montana,
Yeah,
I did,
yeah.
and it was fantastic.
Was it?
Because it's hard, it's like clearly there's a billion of them out there, but it was very good. Well, it's lean. It's like there's no the fat content, so it's easy to break down. There's water content in it. It's,
I would stay away from that because if you're gonna have meat, you want to have a little fat, right?
I mean, I think anything that has water content in it for me is fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, so going back to Turkey Day is that I would substitute in pretty much anything but turkey. and turkey's fine, but I mean, I'm going to be with people that we all make it perfect.
But now we get into the emotional aspect of it because you're at someone's house and they put together a dinner and you put together a dinner. And if you don't sit there and eat 1.5 pounds of turkey, you're insulting them. Oh, is there something wrong? You don't like it?
So I don't ascribe to that either. Yeah. That I'm always about advocating for oneself. That if people are doing your food watching of like how much you took in terms of like how little, that you can't get offended because you don't know what's going on for that person.
Yeah.
But and when people pile it on and stack it on, what goes through my head bubble when I'm with people that I don't know very well, I go, wow, they're going to feel really bad later.
Yeah.
That's going to back up on them in a big way. And people do what you were saying at the beginning is like, they've decided that this is going to be a game on food day.
Yeah.
And so, and I have a friend in the community here that runs a fitness program, a fitness training program. And he always talks about like, how right afterwards, it's like Uncle Bob over in the chair with his pants undone, and like snoring, because the tryptophan in the turkey, which makes you sleep, which is a mood regulator as well. And then you've got all the different pieces you're also eating the sugar content, the carbohydrate, all mood regulators. Oh, and then the alcohol, mood regulator, depressant. And then really it's a mental health disaster.
And the lions.
And the lions.
That's a depressant.
Yes.
But we're New England families.
Yes.
And you know how this goes. First of all, you take a little bit less on the plate and everyone starts questioning you don't like it or what's the problem. And you say, no, I'm trying to eat a little responsibly or something. And then that's the wrong thing to say in New England. You can't be a responsible eater in New England, especially on Thanksgiving. You'll get more grief for that too.
You can.
I know you can, but you have to.
Well, you have to not worry about what other people think.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a whole nother piece of it is that, well, I don't want to hurt, Nana's feelings, or I don't want to hurt, Uncle Bob's feelings about his turkey. I just had the flash of Christmas Vacation with the turkey going in my head about how dry it was, pop into my head. Yeah. But it's really about taking, I think that nowadays, especially, that people have been so much more conscientious of food and eating for the most part, that if you're coming into a dinner for holiday, people already know that if you're the conscientious eater, they already know that. It's not going to be a surprise to them that you've taken a scoop of a little teeny spoonful of things, and I don't think that that's as bad. But if you don't have that in your wheelhouse, that you don't have people that know that, and if people comment, it's like, yep, I'm just having a little bit of everything so I can have it, so I don't feel bad later. I think most people are pretty good about not wanting to feel crappy later.
Yeah.
I recommend, and I said this last year too, I recommend always either starting with a very hearty water-based soup. So like you're offering like, even a tomato soup that has like carrots and vegetables and all that, but not like a heavy soup, like just like a clear broth tomato soup made of fresh tomatoes, and as a starter, or just like throughout the day, because it will fill you up and make you eat less of the junk.
I'll just go right to the water, right? Just keep a glass of water around. No,
but that's not. Yes,
that's a technique I use a lot. Yeah,
but people have the mindset that water's no fun, and eating is more fun. And so, that you get to have eating all day. It's like a sport. You get to eat all day kind of thing, which is so not healthy for you, but nonetheless. But that, and also always providing a salad of some sort. And people have made modifications to these salads, because I certainly remember having this beautiful salad growing up, like greens and all these things. And then it slowly morphed into a very yummy cabbage salad, with broccoli, and then it turned into having broccoli and cabbage, but then it ended up with raisins and almonds, and now
Yeah.
it's got some mayonnaise thing in it, and now
Yeah.
it's like 7,000 calories, and it's like, sucking on a candy cane.
Yeah.
So salad, staying to the pure sense of salad, or something nice and vinegary and light or something, or keeping things like that in your front of your meal, so that you're not likely to pack on the potato, the squash, and all those things that are not good for you. So, substitutions like cauliflower mash for mashed potato, celery root mash for, other things, or mixing it in with your potatoes so that you're not eating pure just potato.
Yep.
There's so many good, fun, easy changes that you can make to your standard New England turkey dinner that will make you feel less yucky, both physically and emotionally at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Let me wind back. You said squash wasn't a thing that was good to you. Is that because squash isn't, or because of the way it's usually prepared on Thanksgiving?
Because of the way it's prepared. So the way I prepare my squash is just squash with butter and pepper.
Yeah.
But I know that people for some reason don't like squash, but they'll eat it if it has cinnamon, nutmeg, maple syrup, and marshmallows in it. Like, why bother? So you're taking actually a really healthy vegetable that is good for you, with great water content, good fiber, and it's got great nutrients and all kinds of antioxidants and good color in terms of like your body needing different colors. And then you're adding, so as a serving, like a nice size cup full of squash serving, which is maybe 50 calories with the butter even in it, right?
Yep.
Going from that to that recipe I just said, that the little teeny scoop that you would take, not even the amount I just said for a whole thing, right, is roughly 400 calories just for that scoop. We haven't even added the potatoes or the very, very unhealthy string bean casserole that people love. Although people love it, it's tradition. There's another 400 or 500 calories per scoop.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the stuffing, which is another 200 or 300 calories just for a little scoop. The turkey is your healthiest thing as long as it's not draped in gravy, because once you add the gravy on, you've gone from 90 calories for a nice 3 or 4 ounce slice to 300 or 400. So now you're sitting at a dinner table on your first round without rolls, without anything, sitting at 2,000 calories or more just before, right, with it, no dessert, no roll, and no alcohol added in. So by the time people do their woohoo cheat day, it could be 10,000 to 20,000 calories for some people.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, that's the extremes,
Wow.
But it is. I mean, right? So you figure if you think of all the different items that are, on your table, and then the grazing that happens all day, and you start in the morning because people get up and they have their let's have, omelets, and, it's a big day to eat.
Yep.
By the time you go from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, you've probably hit well over 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's stunning to think about.
Right. And people don't think about it because it's like, well, you're,
if you're normally in the 2,000 range or 1,800 range,
right,
10,000 in one day is no wonder you don't feel good.
Well, and so, right. Cause what it's doing is it's pressing on the system. And so, and you play the mind games, and people do this. And I certainly, and you certainly know tons of people that do this. Like, it's just one day, but it's not just one day.
Well, that's 5 days.
That's right. And people don't realize how hard the body has to work it's a mental and physical reaction, and they're connected. That's why it's in my wheelhouse to talk about this, is they're connected to, you have just now set up your next 5 to 6 days for your brain to seek out sugar items, to seek out next day open-faced turkey sandwiches, which is fine if you are mindful of how you're doing it. You can eat all of these things and still stay in your 1,800 calorie or under range. You just can't eat them all day because you're going to be at 10,000 or more calories.
So it's going to change your cravings for days going forward?
Yeah, because your body's taking its time to break down everything that you've just eaten. And it has to take its time. So while it's breaking down and the carbohydrates are getting moved around and the nutrients are being taken out and things are getting stored, and now you're still eating the next day, your body is trying to get it moved. And so what it does is like, oh, I had all that stuff. It felt good. It felt wonderful. I want more of that. It tasted good.
Yep.
And so people then stack on another scoop of potato, or they get up, people get up in the morning the next day and like, ooh, mashed potatoes for breakfast, right?
Yep.
And now the body hasn't finished even remotely from the day before, and now you're adding on to it again.
So after 5 days, not only does the body, you're changing your diet, you're changing your emotional state because you start to feel guilty about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And usually people feel guilty about it later that night, the first night, or the next morning, just like, oh man.
Well, yeah, because their gratification is gone and they're left with
Right.
the consequences of the binge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So it's actually like food. It's like addiction, obviously, and relapsing.
Yeah.
Like you go, people are like, I waited all year for Thanksgiving. And I'm like, oh, you're going to regret that because you're going to suffer. And I just, we all have our little vices, but it's like, that one's not one that I don't like the way it makes me feel. I have many clients that have really moved their whole way of thinking about food. Food is fuel, not food is just fun.
Yeah.
So, that if you're, over fueling your car and it's spilling out all over the place and, or you put the wrong fuel in, it's not going to go. That's, the metaphor I try to say. Thanksgiving Day is like it's either you're having bad gas, no pun intended, or you're just not fueling correctly.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a huge hit on your system and make you not feel good. And so people say, okay, what do I do? So coming into Thanksgiving, if you're already on a healthy path, I would stay the course of just staying healthy. You can have every single thing I talked about, no matter what. It's the excess of it. Do you have to have, 4 scoops of potato? Do you
Right.
have to have, because the way I make my potatoes, they're very fattening. I mean, you go all in, but you can't then sit down and eat half the pan because they're very fattening.
Yeah.
So it's about taking little bits at a time and not grazing all day.
Then you take your 10,000 calorie meal and you pour gravy all over it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how much it's just, flour or Wondra and butter and sometimes booze. I put booze in my gravy, but it's like, it's just pure calories, empty, non-useful, and people are like, well, that's no fun if you just have to do that. You're not counting calories. You're mindful of how this is going to make you end up feeling.
That was the thing I was thinking a couple of seconds ago and it's kind of cliche about mindful eating, but it's very important in this situation. Just because if you told somebody when they're sitting down at the table, you're about to eat 10,000 calories, they'd reel at that. They'd react to that. I mean, God, I find it disgusting, actually.
But you don't think of that.
But you don't think of that while
you're
you're
going to sit at
doing
the table this year and you're going to think about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I do anyway. I'm not one who goes nuts on Thanksgiving, but yeah. I mean, like for example, there's a restaurant. Should I say the restaurant? Yeah, why not? Because my daughter used to work there at the 99s.
Yeah.
And they made the mistake of putting the calories on the menu. And as I'm sitting there looking at the menu, I'd go visit her. And as I'm looking at the menu, there's nothing here I can eat.
Yep.
I do not want to spend 700 calories on a salad. I just don't want to do it.
Right. Well, and that's like Applebee's, and God love Applebee's, but
yeah.
Applebee's has
I'm
their
sure it's the
calories on
same.
it,
Yeah.
and you go through it and you can have soup.
Yep.
Because the salads are all anywhere from 700 to 2,000 calories, and that's over your limit of how and it's not about counting calories. Let me be clear. It's about your body does not need that much, and your body doesn't know how to really break that down once it gets to a certain level. So what it does is it converts over to fat and to other non-usable things. I mean, I'm being very generic here, but it's not helpful to you. And then you have that, then you have their 2,000 calorie dessert.
Yeah.
And their 1,200 calorie chicken wings, which are awesome. But by the time you leave one meal at one of those places, you're at 5,000 calories.
But I could sit there and look at the menu and have the chicken wings because I love chicken wings.
Yes.
But if I sat there and saw 1,200 calories or 1,400 calories, there's no way I'm doing it.
Right.
And that's just about being mindful.
So
I can't imagine. I don't eat 1,000 calorie meals. I just don't do it. I mean, I'm a grazer, first of all. But.
And so just for people that are listening that have really no understanding of this stuff and don't really watch it and want to, is that you're if you want a calorie count to just make it easier for yourself, not because you're using it as a strategy to lose weight or anything like that, that gets cuckoo in your head to make you have an eating disorder, but your calories should, and like breakfast should be 200 to 300 calories. Lunch should be 200 to 300 calories. Dinner, 200 to 400 calories, with maybe, if you have a little snack in between, 100 calories, 100 calories. So you stay in the 1,500 calorie range roughly in the day, because it, 1,500 or 2,000, depending. So you're going to monitor for that. Doesn't mean just because
depending if you're losing or maintaining.
Yeah. So if you're maintaining, just trying to maintain your weight, that's pretty much the right formula. If you're trying to lose weight, you're going to go down to like 1,200 calories or under, between 1,000 and 12. Only if you're like, that's for people that are like enormous.
Yeah.
Not like people that just need to lose 5 pounds. You don't have to, you just have to be more mindful of the things you're putting in.
Or, and it gets there very quickly, or burn more calories.
Well, right. And so you have to move more, because you can't outrun a bad diet, right? So you can go to the gym all day long, and people, and this is the other thing, because this will increase my caseload around fitness and exercise coming into the new year, as it always does, because people will be like, oh my gosh, I go to the gym every day and the scale hasn't moved. I go right to the food. What are you eating?
Yeah.
And it's in the food. I'm like, you cannot work out what you're not doing for movement. You have to move. You must move. And movement isn't, people are like, well, but I stand all day at work. Not the same thing. Not the same thing. Or people are like, I walk the dog. Yeah, you walk the dog a block. That's not that, and you have a dog and they pull you and you're over there and you stop, and except unless your dog, because your dog is your dog is like 5-mile sprinter. But people have to be mindful of really what they're doing, and people just don't want to do that.
Well, I lost 50 pounds at one point. I put 20 back, but I'm still down 30.
That's awesome.
Would like a little less, but
but you're following my plan.
But for me, it was basically, and I always talk about my diet was basically don't eat stupid 100% of the time.
Right.
And I worked on a 500 calorie deficit. That was my goal for the day. And there was accountability. I found this in finances, which is why I think losing weight is such a great mental health, because it gives you these skills to do, to transfer to other things. It's about accountability.
Right.
Log what you're eating, log your exercise. And it's just basically, I was trying to get a 500 calorie deficit every day. Got pretty good at that, and I'm going for 1,000. That's when I was in the mode of losing them. So I was doing 1,000 calorie, and I had to burn some because I wasn't eating thin. I wasn't starving myself. I wouldn't do it because you can't maintain that. Right. Right.
So yeah, exactly. So for people that are listening,
and I know it's oversimplistic just doing calories.
Well, I was going to say for people that are listening that don't know what you're talking about having a 500 calorie deficit, what that translates to is not eating 500 calories. What it means is you have to burn more than you've taken in, and have it at least be 500 calories as the differential between those two items.
Because a pound is 3,500 calories. So a week, 500 calories a day.
Right.
Usually a pound a week, but at the beginning you lose a lot more because you have a lot.
Your body goes into the metabolism shift. Right. So for people that want to look that up, certainly that's what you can, and that's what that means. So that, you have to have 500 calories at least a day deficited in a week to lose a pound. If you
but the diet
more,
wasn't, it should have been to an extent, but it wasn't about what I'm eating. It was just 500 less calories.
Right.
If it's a pizza involved,
when
that's
you're
fine,
heavier, it's really not about that. It's just taking the 500 more calories away a day, because that adds up over time. And as you get closer to your goal weight, and you're getting leaner and healthier and all those things, then all of a sudden it becomes a closer match range of how to really balance that. And that's where people get lost, is because then it gets harder. Yeah. And people are like, I've plateaued. And it's like, well, because your movement is not as great as your intake, or vice versa.
Well, so then you start gaming metabolism and stuff like that. So
well, and that's
when you get lean, when you get to the point where you plateau and it's difficult to lose.
So
plus, by the way, there's the whole muscle fat thing that you're trading off all the time.
Going to the reference around Thanksgiving is people like, I know a whole bunch of people in the past couple months have been doing like a restart program. And there's actually a program that one of my colleagues does called Restart. It's like taking out all the sugars and doing that. And then I have a couple other colleagues and some friends and doing other little programs like fasting and this ProForm one. And, there's always something out there. But they're like a cleansing restart, getting your body back on a balance and And I keep warning or cautioning my clients and friends and whatever, like, you're doing this and you're looking forward to the holidays, And you're counting on the fact that by then you'll have this is most people said, I'm doing this so that I can come in the holidays and be able to eat what I want.
Yeah.
Very, very slippery slope, because that is not, your body is going to go, what's going on?
Yep.
And you're going to go flying back up on that scale. Your body's not going to feel good. Your whole mental ability, and you're going to lose motivation, because you're going to see all of a sudden, like, all that hard work that you've done is now going to go down the tubes, because you spent 5 days in a row of eating poorly, making poor choices, sitting around, doing nothing, and then being like, well, I don't feel good and I shouldn't have done that. And the likelihood to go back and do a restart goes down, because now you've lost your motivation, and it's very quick to go down that. So that comes back to, if you're doing something like that and you're getting ready to come into the holiday season and you're all like cleansed and you feel like really good, why would you then do that to yourself? Why? Don't, and I know why, and that's rhetorical, but like, you don't need to do that. You can still come into the holiday season, do what you were doing, but it's just about making smart choice. Like, if you are used to having a 10,000 calorie plate, well, let's bring it down to a normal 500 or 600 calorie plate. You
don't need a half a pound of mashed potatoes on your plate.
Right. With gravy.
With gravy.
With gravy, right? I mean, seriously, because people don't realize, and a normal potato is like roughly 140 calories just without anything on it. Now you add butter. So I'm going to wrap my little recipe out: butter, cheese, cream cheese, sour cream, and bacon. Now we're at my 1,000 calorie potato
serving.
Right. And
that's just part of the meal.
It tastes so good, and people like feel sick afterwards. Not about my potatoes at all, but after you eat all that stuff, because it's loaded with stuff.
And it tastes good, but again, as you said, the body is going, oh, what the hell do I do with this now? And then it's like, oh, I remember this, I want more.
Right. So one of the strategies for staying mentally right on this is, if you're cooking for the holidays and you're the one that's providing the meal, you can always take and make individual size portions for people and make it fun. Like, you can put I haven't done this in a while, but I was thinking, I could do this year because it makes it easier. But you can take like a muffin tin and you can put individual potato, you'd make your potato thing so that each one is portioned out, so that for yourself how much it is. And then also, people are less likely to dig in and plop. They're going to take that and be like, oh, because it's your visual cue is super important to your belly.
Right.
And it's mentally, there's a lot of mental work that goes into what your food choices pick. So doing that with any of those food items, doing it with, your carrots, you can do that, you can you can do little wrap bundles if you have time if you're doing asparagus, or if you're doing your string beans, instead of it giving people the opportunity to not just dig a big spoon in and dump, because this way people are less likely going to come back and do a gorge.
Right.
And you're also helping them, and they certainly can, but you're giving them the healthy portion control, so it doesn't have to be out of control. It takes extra time, but if you're mindful of trying to be healthy for people and provide those options, great. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to poo-poo that and say, no, it's no fun and whatever. However, when you've got a lot of people around you that struggle with that, or you yourself, or, like I have to be very mindful, because I have so much weight issue in my whole family, that I have to make those choices all the time, and I can't just be like, spoonful, yay, even though that would be great, but I regret it. Right. So it's about really providing those little options, and not really providing yourself with like high carb Snyder snack foods that are delicious with all the trail mix. Like, it's not necessary. You're about to eat 10,000 calories. Why provide a bowl of nuts on the table for 2 hours before? It's fine to put out vegetables, but remember, in eating the vegetables, people are like, oh, but I had vegetables and that little crudité and blah, blah, blah. Right. That's great. But after you dipped it in the ranch dressing or the buffalo cheese dip and all that stuff, you've just eaten, before you've eaten dinner, another couple hundred or more calories.
They were sauteed in butter, and you put the ranch dressing. Oh, you're talking raw.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But so it's or, you have the stuffed mushrooms. Yum. but there's, you eat 5 of those. Now you're at 200 calories.
Yep.
So people are, and I do keep mentioning the calories, not to calorie count, but just to keep you mindful that just because it's a mushroom, it's now stuffed. So the stuffing is now the calorie issue, and the calorie issue is what's going to make you feel yucky. So there's neurotransmitters in your body that make you feel good. We have dopamine, our one that's like, yay, pleasure, wonderful. This feels so wonderful. Serotonin, which is our mood, and GABA, which is our anxiety. So I mentioned those 3 because all the Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah foods, and in general, like same thing, like matzah and bread, right? They all go and potato pancakes. They all go towards those 3 neurotransmitters that make you feel either great or overtaxed, overworked, overwhelmed. And the body is producing them in the gut, and serotonin is there. So all these food products make a difference in mood. This is why people get agitated. This is, you add alcohol in, and you've got now agitation at the dinner table on top of all the angry fighting that could be happening of who did what and who did what to who and who's sleeping with who and why did they do that, and they took money and so died and the will isn't done, and you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So you add in all that on top, and so you're overtaxing with food, those neurotransmitters. Now you're emotionally overtaxing, and I haven't seen a family yet ever at Thanksgiving that doesn't have some issue going on the backside that I hope no one brings it up, and everyone's sitting in some kind of elephant in the room anxiety. I just have never encountered that, and I've been doing my practice forever.
Yeah.
And I don't, and people may not have fights, but it's there. It's sitting in the back of the cave. It's the bear that's sitting in the back of the cave.
Yeah. You keep talking about you trying to avoid counting calories, and I guess I understand that. But by the same token, if your increments are thousands of calories, then maybe you should pay attention to calories.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I keep saying, you don't have to count calories, you don't have to pay attention, is because it just gets down a slippery slope for a lot of people who are already a calorie counter, and it's eating disordered behavior. So we tend to stay away. I tend to stay away from getting people to do that. But in the eating disordered behavior that's on the obesity side or the heavier set side, calorie counting is super important, but not on the side where anorexia and bulimia are. So now that I've made that distinction, then I can say the calorie counting for someone who's on the heavier set side, has 20 or 30 pounds to lose or more.
Yep.
Knowing that when you sit down to a day of eating, like Thanksgiving or your next holiday, it's not, if you do not mindfully know calories, you are going to be in overload on top of overload for days, because your body doesn't break it down fast.
And I always try to avoid, or I'd like people to avoid the trap of it's just Thanksgiving, because it's not just Thanksgiving. You move right into Christmas, holiday parties, New Year's, and so you're spending 2 months eating just out of pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've talked about this about, I have a friend that, it's always, well, any day that ends in Y. That's what I would say to him. Like, well, any day that ends in Y is a day, right? Because it's always, well, it's just one time. And I would say, but it's not just one time. It's Sunday, right? But there's Sundays every single week.
Right. Yeah.
It's not once a year that this is happening. It's like, but we only had pizza this week one time, but you had pizza and you had spaghetti and you had lasagna. It's like, it's never, you justify it in your head. And this is what everybody does in some way until you start being really aware of it and catch yourself to be able to say, it's not that. And it has nothing to do with being a cheat or not cheat day. It has to do with, are you making a good choice that your body actively can use?
And it's tough because everything seems to be working against you, because someone's going to put a lasagna in front of you. It doesn't even have to be Thanksgiving, or they're going to put spaghetti in front of you, or they're going to put Oreos in front of you. And so
Oreos.
Oh God. Yeah.
Did you know that now they make gluten? Sorry. I'm not really sorry. They make gluten-free double stuffed now. I might have tried them.
Gluten is a thing. Gluten is another thing I don't think I have a problem with, but I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm excited, because if I want to have 2 or 3 of them, they're gluten-free and they don't make me feel like garbage, and I'm actively knowing that I'm eating something with lots of sugar in it, but it doesn't have that other stuff in
But
it.
it's never just one day or one meal. There's challenges constantly. There's stuff, you're out on the road and you're hungry, and what are your choices? It's really
McDonald's.
Yeah, but there's nothing. That's bad choice.
I know.
There are no good choices at McDonald's.
Well, and people will say, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And you do have time. It's just a matter of just doing a little pre-planning.
You're on the road, and I do this a lot. I'm out, for lunch, and I'm running around, and it's like there aren't a lot of great alternatives. Even if you go into the grocery store and go to their made-up sandwiches and things like that, that's nothing good. There's nothing good there. Some are better than others, but.
So I go to the standard when people tell me what you're saying is I go to the standard of making a batch of soup that you like, that's not cream based. Note.
Yeah.
Right. That's not, it's not cheddar broccoli soup. That's not soup. That's cheddar cheese and broccoli mashed. But, soup that's chicken noodle, turkey rice, tomato rice, anything like that. And you could have the noodles in it still, whatever, but you're getting that, and you always have it in the freezer so that when you need to run, you have it with you and it's thawed out, or you can stick it in the microwave at a place that you're at or something like that. So you're not stuck.
That requires a level of organization I don't think I'm capable of.
Right. Well, in a pinch, you can go to Whole Foods like I do, or as I call it, Whole Paycheck, and buy their Nana's chicken soup. I'll give them a plug because it's really good. And it's only 210 calories for the entire quart. And it's filling. And when you eat something that has lots of water content in it with a protein or whatever, it fills you up. And you don't have to then you're not your mind, that hypothalamus, the register for your eating, does not turn on to say, I'm still hungry. When you put in something like a sandwich with bread, and not like a healthy bread, but a high sugared bread, and then you have like other stuff with it, and you add half a bag of chips, your brain never shuts off to say, I'm done. Your brain's going, now what? Oh, a brownie. Oh, now a cookie. And then at 3:00 you're wondering why I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Right, because you haven't set it up right. And so this goes to the Thanksgiving thing, is coming into from now until next week or the week after, right, is spending every day being as clean as you can be to your body and your mind, in terms of, don't eat, potatoes and stuffing now and extra rice stuff, because your body won't be able to break down when you get to that day. If you're planning on the gorge day, which many people are, keep in mind that if you're coming in and you're doing 2,000 to 3,000 or 4,000 calories a day, which many people do, that day you're just stacking the deck, and it's just going to make your body struggle. And this is one of the factors that leads to people's depression over the holidays.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. People think it's just about sadness and loss and people who passed away and anger and all these. No, it's actually food consumption and emotions mixed up in it, and then not realizing that is a big piece of what's making you sadder.
Is there a residual, and we're back to calories again, I don't mean to get there. Is there a residual calorie amount that you can't process in a day? I mean, for example, if you're doing 4,000 and you're always behind, you're always processing a couple days, that 4,000 a couple days, right? You're
always processing the 4. If you're consistently at 4,000 every single day, your body will get into a pattern of processing it over, and you're maintaining weight.
Right.
Say, your body's consistently processing it in the same exact way, and it's just keeping up just enough to process to keep where it is, because you keep adding the same calories in. It's not like going to get ahead of itself.
Yeah.
It won't. So, unless you start deficiting the calories.
Yeah.
So it's just going to do that. And being mindful that when you eat, like I'm picking on potatoes. I love potatoes, by the way. But when you eat a potato today, I never recommend, for mental health reasons, but also we know nutritionally, if you eat potato today, you don't eat a potato tomorrow, because your body's still breaking down the potato from the day before. So you have to wait. I always tell people wait 3 days before the next potato or
by the way, French fries are potatoes, just to let everybody know.
Yeah, right. French fries are still tater tots are still potatoes. So or if you have pasta today, you have to wait 3 days. So tomorrow's not macaroni and cheese because today was pasta with sauce. Or if you had bread today, that's 3-day wait. so that your body has enough time to get rid of it. And you want to be introducing something new so that your body's not necessarily shocked, but it's surprised by, oh, something different. So it's always working and metabolizing so that you're not getting into that 4,000 complacent spot of calories going, my body just knows how to do this because I'm doing the same thing over and over.
Yep.
And you know, or if pizza, you know, pizza is your thing. And, you know, it's so funny how school systems have been on such a kick for years to be healthy, but they provide pizza.
Yep.
And a lot of school pizza is really good. You know, Sal's provides pizza and whatever. But when you are having pizza every day, your body's not breaking it down. And pizza is actually really high in calorie. And people don't realize that. They're like, it's just a slice. Well, a slice is like 500 calories. So if you eat a whole pizza, which people can, you know, a big pizza, and you eat 4 or 5 slices, you're at 2,000 calories, not on just cheese, but at like a regular, like pepperoni cheese, blah, blah, blah. You're at your deficit. You're at your whole max out for the day. There's no deficit. So people say, I had pizza and salad.
Okay.
Did you like that look?
Yeah.
That's good. Yay for you. I had salad with my pizza.
Yeah.
You know, and
I had
there's
a
nothing
Diet
wrong
Coke
with having a slice or two of pizza, but know that you have to move more to make sure that, and it's not about losing weight. It's about processing it. You've got to process it so you're not just sitting on it. It's science, and people, it's a lot of work for a lot of people. I don't find it hard because it's a lifestyle and you have to just get into it and know it. And just like the lifestyle of eating 4,000 calories a day is a lifestyle. You just have automatically become accustomed to doing that. This is just something that you'd have to actively work on, just like you did to do the 4,000 calories. But I caution people about the mental health issues around health and wellness around the holidays, just because you are loading up to have 10 to 15,000 calorie days and you don't even realize it, and how much that makes a problem for you.
What do you think about pre-gaming strategy? Because I do that a lot, especially if I'm going out to eat or something like that, or Thanksgiving, like a lot of water.
I think
having a meal before
you could be pre-gaming is very good as long as it's all those healthy things, right? You're not eating, because a lot of my clients are like, I'm pre-gaming, which means that they're having a couple glasses of wine before they go to the relative's house. Like, that is not helpful.
Yeah.
But the pre-gaming of, if you're going to someone's house and it's not solely in your home, water and lemon, warm water, tea, things like that, because that fills up the body. But also having a small snack before you go that is in your day that would be normal to what you regularly eat, so that when you get to the place, you're not looking at that appetizer table going, I really want all of this, right? Because you'll be less likely, because you'll be like, I'm already, all right, I just ate something in your head, and you won't be likely to do that. You know, even if there's vegetables like carrots and broccoli and all those little, you know, raw things on the table, just stay away from them, because you start them, you dip them in the dressing, and now you're on the roll of that's now you've taken a low calorie, quick little snack into a slippery slope. So I would pregame for sure if you're going to someone's house, and have the little snack, so you're not stuck into hors d'oeuvres. Yeah. And so on and so forth. So my strategies for coming into the next 2 weeks is not to worry, obviously, but let's try to be mindful and just start thinking like, okay, how can I make adjustments so that I don't take in 10,000 calories on Thanksgiving? And maybe set a goal. Like, I'm going to stick to like I stick to 500 calories for Thanksgiving. That keeps me around the same as, and you can do that. You can absolutely still maintain a 500 calorie meal, but you have to be mindful of what goes into that. That means there will be more salmon for me, all right, or more turkey. It will be more. So you add your protein in and stick to your vegetables, and maybe if you are cooking, make those portion controls, but try to keep it under that, and move that day. You know, lots of people go out and do their turkey trots. Lots of people go out and do hikes, or get out there, and because you're going to be sitting and eating and just, so everything has to do with be actively aware and mindful to go out and do and plan.
What do you think about rehearsing for this in terms of, we talked about it emotionally with family conflict and family interactions, understanding the predicaments you're going to be put into, and having a response for them handy.
Yes.
Like, what, you don't like the turkey? No,
I love the turkey, but I'm only eating a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you don't want pie? No, I'm good. I'm just not eating it tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like it? It has nothing to do with me not liking it. It's just I don't like it the way it makes me feel, so I'm just not eating it tonight.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, when people say, "Oh, do you want a piece of meat like that?" I'm like, "Oh, I haven't had meat since January 4th, so I'm just not doing it." Why? It doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so it's just it's so that it's a standard.
But so you're not dealing with that cold,
right?
you know,
Right. So
just
you
like
have
the
it
emotional
ready.
conflicts with the family.
Right.
Just, you know,
Right.
where's your
Right.
boyfriend? You know, that's
Exactly.
Yeah. Have an answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're sitting at a table with, you know, your traditional Irish families or your Italian families who food is the bonder, you know,
With the
it does
Thanksgiving
make it,
lasagna.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it does make it harder, but it doesn't mean that you can't eat it. It means just watch your portions. Don't eat like a 5-pound slab of lasagna.
Yeah.
You know, don't sit there with like the cheese and grate it all over whatever you're putting it on. And when you take gravy, it's not supposed to be swimming on your plate.
The Italian appetizer, the cream cheese stuffed celery. Ugh. There you go. There's 200-300 calories right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
You haven't even got to the table, let alone to the meal, and you're 200 or 300 calories in.
Well, that's what so that was what
Yeah.
I'm saying. The average, walk up to the table pre-calorie intake for most people, average is roughly 500 calories before they even, and food. That's not drinks. So if you have a glass of wine or two, there's 260 calories.
Yep.
On prior. And then if you have the food, you're 300 or 400. So you're walking in with half of your daily calories at the appetizer table.
Yep. Really easy to do.
So easy.
Yeah.
Because, and when you provide healthy options, people think because it's healthy, then it's, you know, more is more. And in the carrots, God love carrots. Carrots are your worst enemy in terms of those, because carrots have the highest sugar content and the highest calorie content, and people will clear those out because they're fun.
Yeah.
And they taste good with the ranch dressing. And there you go with like, and grapes. Grapes are not your friend either. They're fine if you have a few, but they're the high sugar contented.
Yeah.
You know, and they're great for filling you up, but people think, oh, it's a fruit, I can eat as many as I want. That's not how this works. Everything's healthy to an extent, right?
How's watermelon on that scale?
Watermelon is actually no issue.
Yeah.
You can watermelon yourself all up.
That's what I do at lunch.
Watermelon
a lot of times,
watermelon.
buy a bunch of watermelon and
think why water.
Water.
It's water content, right? So it's a
but it does fill you up, and it tends to last.
Fills you up. Yeah. It gives you a normal sugar. It's easy to break down. It's got good fiber. It's loaded with vitamins. Yep. And it's great. So you want to find those fruits and vegetables that have those water content, like kiwi, anything that's melon, right? The muskmelon, the honeydews.
Joanna says blueberries. What do you think about that? Joanna, who is apparently a Raiders fan.
Joanna loves the Raiders. I don't see her. I don't see it on my side, but hi, Joanna.
You don't see the comment on your side on the bottom?
I don't
blueberries?
see anything.
Okay.
But that's
I'm sorry.
okay.
She says blueberries.
Blueberries
which
are
I'm eating
fantastic.
a ton of lately.
Blueberries are fantastic for antioxidants, and they are a good filler, and they are not high in calories, and you can blueberry yourself up too, right along with your strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. The berry content, all good. Yep. All good for, you know, until you start putting sugar all over them.
Yeah.
Which people do.
Yeah, but for all of those are good enough to eat almost raw, basically.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think it's good to have like a fruit table out like that, because it's better for people to be picking on that stuff than the typical vegetable. But here's what people do. They put out the sugar yogurt topping spread that you can dip the fruit into. Yeah. And then we start going down the slide again.
Yeah. Because you got to get your sugar in.
Right. Instead of just enjoying the fruit, you know, like and if you want to have an appetizer table, do chocolate covered strawberries with dark chocolate. That's fine.
Oh, and dark chocolate works too.
The dark chocolate is perfectly fine. You're not going to get a lot of calories. The strawberries, like 3 calories, 4 calories. The chocolate is negligible, essentially. I mean, so you're getting something yummy, something really great.
And dark chocolate has some mood benefits and some antioxidant benefits, right? Yeah.
Right. Milk chocolate, not so much.
No.
But you know, but put that on your appetizer table. You don't have to wait for that for dessert. And that will help. That you're giving people want to eat.
Yep.
So give options that people can really feed on, but then not feel sick because they're gorging, because people will just gorge.
Yep.
So, all right. So we'll be revisiting this in different forms over the next few weeks.
Oh, Joanna, this is a good one,
What?
because now we're on the subject. Joanna asked, white meat or dark meat turkey? Is there a difference?
So white
Mood
meat
and
is
nutritionally?
better for you.
Mhm.
Dark meat tastes, for most people's report, tastes better. It has a higher fat content in it. It's also where you're going to find a lot more tryptophan in the dark. So the healthier part of the turkey is the white meat, but the more fun part of the turkey is the dark meat.
Yeah.
And the one that has more physical, emotional benefit is the white.
Mhm.
Because it's leaner and it doesn't have all the garbage in it, but it's just not as fun because the taste is great, you know?
Yeah, but I find it good because it's a big part of my diet. I find it's like chicken. You can dress it up 100 different ways.
Right.
So
Right.
you don't have to be presenting the same taste all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. And it's not, remember, not gravy.
Not gravy.
Not gravy. Gravy doesn't help, right?
Yeah.
But I think that when people get into the whole thing on Thanksgiving or Christmas about the turkey, about like, oh, the dark meat, if you're going to eat that, that's the protein. I'd rather you eat that than the extra scoop of potato, because that's going to be way easier to break down. It has a higher fat content, but when you combine fat and protein together and you're doing it correctly, they help each other burn. And so I'd rather you take extra turkey than extra potatoes and stuffing, because it doesn't matter whether it's the white or the dark. It's just, I'd rather the protein. So, Joanna, it was so nice of you to join us today. And go Raiders for her. She's a big Raiders. She follows them around the country. She's like,
nice.
She's a superstar traveler for the Raiders. I think she is their #1 fan.
Oh, excellent. Well, there were worse teams to root for.
Joanna is very special in my heart, because Joanna and I met the day of the Boston Marathon bombing together at the Boston finish line. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So Joanna is one of my biggest supporters in terms of my marathoning. She's a wonderful friend. She's an amazing human being.
I'm glad she joined us.
Glad
she joined us.
And I am too. So, and she's welcome anytime. So, see, I got a little emotional because she's here. See that? Did you see that?
Yes.
I don't know if she's watching, but thanks a lot, Joanna. You made me get a little emotional. So, but she's awesome. We've known each other a long time, and we're going to hang out soon. I just saw her.
Check for past episodes on the page. Check for our audio only podcast everywhere you find podcasts, and come back next week.
Yes. Thanks, Lou, for closing out the show. How nice of you. All right. Okay. We're gonna get offline now, and we're gonna banter hard.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week.